There you are. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Ty Moore Tech. I'm Ty Moore, and today we are talking about some summer technology. Specifically, tents. And even more specifically, the Core Equipment 12-man tent. But first, here's the setup. So if you couldn't tell by the intro, I'm sitting in a tent. This is the Core Equipment 12-man instant cabin. We used this just this last weekend for camping with our family. My wife and I have 4 young boys, and we set up in this tent because our tent is a little bit too small, so we borrowed this from a friend of ours. There are some things that I really love about this tent. If you didn't watch the intro, what are you doing here? Go back and watch the intro. If you watch the intro, you saw me set this whole thing up. It's a 12-person tent, all by myself. Now, I might have made myself look like a fool doing it, but keep in mind, this thing is supposed to sleep 12 people, and it's long, it's wide. The measurements are right here on the screen because I don't remember them off the top of my head. And I set it up as one person. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that because there's a lot of weight that goes onto those legs as you telescope them out, but it can be done if you had to do it all by yourself. So this thing went up really easily, really quickly, and I added the rain fly by myself as well, which is usually impossible for a tent this tall, long, to get a rain fly on. But with this tent, the rain fly only comes down part of the way because the outside of the tent is also waterproofed. So when it's raining, you just have to keep your windows zipped up, and then that water rolls off the side of the tent. One of the other things I love about this tent is all the ventilation. And man, is there a lot of ventilation. All of these windows zip down to open up a mesh outside, as do all of the doors. So you get lots of cross breeze going through here, and if you hadn't noticed, the top is all mesh as well. So you take that rain fly off, and all that heat just leaves. So that's great. And if that wasn't enough ventilation, all along that side and all along that side is a giant pocket that opens up to allow air to go in and out. You can stake the outside to draw that out a little further so air can come up and into the tent and then out the other side. So there is a lot of possible airflow through this tent. If you're in a hot, humid environment, this would be a great option for you. Or if you wanted to close everything off and try to keep it warmer in here, pretty much everything closes up too. On the note of ventilation, you got a double door here on your main side there, and then you've got a single door over on this side. So this one splits down the middle and across the bottom to give you both doors opening up, whereas this one is kind of in the half, and you can unzip the one half, the other half drops down for more ventilation as well. Ventilation, ventilation, ventilation. They were really thinking about ventilation. I think 12 people in a cabin must get musty. Something else that I enjoyed about this tent is there are these mesh bags all the way around the tent. You got 4 of them. So wherever you set up a bed, you've got pretty easy access to a spot to keep your glasses, your headlamp, your whatever you might need to keep in that little tool bag to get at in the middle of the night. We use that quite a bit for headlamps and eyeglasses and things we needed to access. As far as accessibility, there is a corner of the tent for a extension cord where it opens up and you can pass an extension cord through, and then it'll pretty much seal off so you have power into your tent without having to sacrifice a doorway or something like that. That's really handy to have as well. It's off in the corner. And then finally, there are a lot of different tie downs and loops and things to this tent. So there are these little hoops up on the doors. They go all the way around the corners. And it's my understanding there is a room divider that goes in this tent. I presume it connects to those little hoops that go around the outside. There's also all kinds of tie downs on the outside for tying it down, which is what tie downs are for. So you can tie the whole thing down to the ground so it doesn't move so much in the wind. Now, since this is a review, I'm going to share a couple of things with you that maybe I don't love about this tent. There are few, but they're significant. So the first one is probably the most minor, and that is this floor. It's loud. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for the ventilation. Love it. But the sound in here, I don't know what's going on with the floor. I think it's probably just something that is more cost effective to use like a tarp for a floor. And it is all sewn together, so it's all one piece. But I think it's more just like a tarp that you would have in your garage to throw over a pile of wood. And so it tends to be very loud. We've got some young kids, so we would hang out by the fire in the evening, and then at night come in, all our kids are asleep, and we're stepping on kind of a crunchy floor, trying to make sure everybody stays asleep. Maybe that's not a big deal to you. It was inconvenient for us, and something that stuck out to me. The only other complaint that I have with this tent is when you look around at the seams, it seems like there's some spots that aren't well put together, like they should have been symmetrical if you had a human doing it, but I imagine this is all put together by a machine, and so it looks like they're unintentionally off kilter, so they're asymmetrical, where maybe they should be right up tight to each other and in the right spots. So with any tent like this that you get from like a big box store, I think, what are these seams going to be like in 5 years and 10 years? Is the waterproofing still going to be good? I've slept in a lot of older tents that seem to be losing some of those qualities. The seams are breaking or the waterproofing is coming undone. And so that's something I would pay close attention to with a tent like this in 5 or 10 years down the road. We have young kids that tend to tug on things a little bit harder than normal, and I would suspect that would tend to wear out a tent like this a little more quickly than just a bunch of people, a bunch of adults respecting their walls and doorways coming in, sleeping in the tent. That is pretty much it for this Core Equipment 12-man instant cabin. My wife and I really enjoyed the cabin. Right, honey? Yep. We really enjoyed sleeping in this tent. It worked really well for our family of 6, and we would feel comfortable having probably 4 more people in here. And if he'll allow it, we would borrow it again to use for our family, if not get one for ourselves. I have found that it's hard to find really nice quality tents this size. So you're kind of limited to big box store tents. And so I think anything you get that's this size, you're going to have to struggle with those seams and the waterproofing and things like that. So I would say just get one that's easy to put up, that is going to stay where you put it, and has lots of ventilation. Did I mention? This thing has a lot of ventilation. That's it for the review of this tent. I hope that uncomplicated this complicated technology. I hope you get a chance to camp this summer, whether that's in a tent or glamping or whatever you like to do. Enjoy your summer, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.